Hi, friends. I want to tell you about my newest book, Whose Permission Are You Waiting For? An Educator's Guide to Doing What You Love. Whenever I find myself answering the same questions over and over again, it usually means it's time to write down those responses as a resource. And this new book is born from conversations with high-achieving educators just like you. Just like you and me, we all run into hard decisions, career choices, navigating complex situations. Where do we turn to determine whether or not we're moving in the right direction? Whose Permission Are You Waiting For? An Educator's Guide to Doing What You Love is a 20-chapter book guiding you through the stories, insights, research, reflections, and applications for your way forward. Pick up your copy today for coaching on your leadership road ahead. You can find Whose Permission Are You Waiting For? An Educator's Guide to Doing What You Love at my website at williamdparker.com/books or wherever you purchase your books. Hi, Principal Matters listeners. This is Will Parker along with my co-host, Dr. Jen Schwanke. And before we jump into this week's episode, a wonderful interview with my friend, John Marinucci, we're going to answer a question of the week. And Jen, the question of the week is supported by Summer Pops Math Workbooks. Principals, when students practice math over the summer, math scores go up. What is your summer math plan this year? A great way to start is by ordering free summer workbook samples at summerpopsworkbooks.com. Jen, this question actually came from a graduate class that you're leading. So why don't you set the stage for why we pulled this question in?
Right. So the course that I teach at The Ohio State University is called Human Capital Management, which is a fancy way to say how to handle people if you're a principal. So I asked the students for a whole list of questions, honestly, that they are going to ask you, Will. Will is going to jump in as a guest to my class actually this evening, the evening that we're recording. And we might turn that into an entire flagship show. Will and I are trying to figure that out. But the students came up with such powerful questions that they wanted to ask Will. And we thought they were very powerful for our listeners too. So the question we are addressing today: how did your leadership style evolve over the course of your principalship, and how did it impact the way you manage human capital? This is such a great question that an aspiring principal would wonder of a more veteran principal. And so, Will, they want to know what you think.
Yeah, well, when I read through the list of questions that your students wrote, Jen, I just smiled because I'm long-winded. How in the world, like I'll probably get through one and then you'll be like, so we'll sit on this one, but because we time our questions and answers, this is the skinny version. So how did your leadership style evolve over the course of your principalship, and how did it impact the way you managed human capital? Man, yeah, if you could see the version of Will my first year as an admin versus version of Will like my 14th year as an admin, I would say I was a different person. Not that I had changed my values, and I mean, not that I had, I don't think I had compromised my character, but what I had realized, Jen, was I thought that as a young leader, my job was to be superhero principal, to step in and just be ready when a teacher had a problem to rescue them so they could get back to teaching. When a kid had a situation, to correct them and reform them and get them back into that classroom setting as fast as possible. I did not realize the power of collaboration, the power of partnership, the power of consistency and time. I mean, I love teaching, so I tried to, bring in the values that I used as a good teacher. But I would just say that my eyes were really open when I began to see how different everybody's teaching styles were, how different their conflict management styles were, how different every child is outside and within each classroom. The way I did a classroom or led a classroom was not going to be the way my peers led their classrooms. So the second part of that question, how did it impact the way I managed human capital? I think at first, maybe I was assuming that everybody would be committed to the same efficiency standards and outcomes. Let's check the boxes and get through all this work we do called school. And then over time, I began to just realize, man, there's such a variety of skills and talents and gifts among the people that I'm supposed to be serving and leading. How about I lean into those? And instead of looking at this as like trying to make everybody like me, how about I lean into the diversity and the differences and the different levels of talents and skills and gifts and experiences, and let's ride that ship, or ride that wave. I'm not sure what metaphor I should use there. So Jen, that's a very skinny response to that answer. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I'm a different leader than I was my first year. One of the things, and I'm just going to be really honest with listeners, is I'm a lot more tired, but I think that's a good thing. And it's going to circle back to what you said. I used to think I had to come in with a fire extinguisher and just, blow everything to smithereens to make it better for everyone involved. And I think being a fixer isn't necessarily what's needed in a lot of situations. And so I think being tired, being older, and being a little bit more calloused in terms of the emotional ups and downs of this job make me slow down a little bit more. Which is again a good thing, because I was I was like a walking uh caffeine bomb, and I don't mean literally. I just mean there was a lot of twitching going on because I felt like I had to be everything to everyone all the time. And I think over time I've um gained the respect and faith in others' expertise. And I absolutely know that just because it's not done the way I would have done it doesn't mean that it's wrong. I used to struggle with that. I used to think, well, I have to have my hand in everything or it won't be done right. And I am not like that anymore at all. And what that says is managing people, managing human capital is much more collaborative now than it used to be.
Yeah, I love that. I'll just end with this thought, since I know we try to keep these short. Um, if your goal is to lead and manage in a way where you'll have no regrets, you will be quickly disappointed, because that's impossible. You're human. And
Mhm.
so, and you will grow over time. And so, whatever version of yourself you are right now, just be comfortable with that, and lean into that in whatever leadership role that you're stepping into. But just take a moment to breathe, and take a step back and realize that the ability for you to do the responsibilities you've been given is not because of the title. It's
Mhm.
because of the commitment to the values and the operations and the systems and the people, that are going to help you complete these things together. So, man, Jen, that's a hard place to stop, but
Yeah, yeah.
what a great,
We have to stop. We've got a great
we
interview coming up.
we do, and I know you guys are going to love this interview, because John Marinucci is at the end of his career as an educator, and he's going to give you just some wonderful insights to the lessons he's learned as a legacy leader. And Jen and I were talking before the recording that John has this amazing Australian accent. So, John, thank you for letting us just be in the room with you and learn from you. But also, Jen and I like to geek out whenever we're around really cool accents. So,
Yes.
we're looking forward to it. So, Principal Matters listeners, if you want other free resources like this one, you can always check them out on my website at williamdparker.com. And Jen, how can they stay connected with you?
They can find me at jenschwanke.com. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Jen Schwanke, and I will be hosting a summer masterclass to be held on June 3rd at 11 a.m. that focuses on managing school conflict. If you are tired of school conflict throwing you off track, or if you wish you could turn those tense moments into opportunities for growth, you'll want to join our high-impact virtual session. It's designed for principals, aspiring leaders, and teacher leaders. So get ready to ditch the avoidance and embrace conflict head-on through a deep dive into understanding types of conflict, mastering the anticipate, analyze, act cycle, tackling common school conflicts, empowering others, and even confronting your own role in conflict. This session will be a dynamic, interactive experience providing practical tips you can use today. So transform your school culture and become a conflict resolution powerhouse. Register at williamdparker.com/guide. And I hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Support for Principal Matters comes from DigiCoach and its walk-through tool. I want you to picture walking through classrooms, observing teachers and students. In just 10 minutes, you'd hope to see good instructional strategies and student learning taking place, or maybe you have questions about something missing from instruction or planning. Instead of taking 30 minutes to write a follow-up email or leaving your teacher feeling unsupported, wouldn't it be great to have an app on your phone or tablet where you could send immediate feedback while also collecting data? Enter DigiCoach, a customizable walkthrough and coaching tool created by school leaders for school leaders with thousands of pre-written, research-based commendations and coaching tips empowering you to provide quick, actionable feedback. DigiCoach is not an evaluative tool. Instead, it is an easy-to-use feedback and coaching tool, an efficient way to store your notes and collect data for improving student outcomes right in your hands. It can be used on iPhone, Android, or tablets and includes speech-to-text functions. Make the most of your walkthroughs with a tool that saves you time and enhances meaningful feedback to your teachers. Go to digicoach.com to learn more, and please tell them Principal Matters recommended you check them out. That's digicoach.com.
You're listening to Principal Matters, the School Leaders Podcast.
Principal Matters Podcast, episode 444. Hi, friends. This is Will Parker, host of Principal Matters, the School Leaders Podcast, where each week we bring you inspiring, innovative, and imaginative ideas for your own school leadership. This week, I'm talking to my special guest, John Marinucci, about leading with simplicity and harmony. John Marinucci currently serves as principal of St. Francis College, a role he has held since 2019. St. Francis College is a contemporary Catholic school located in Logan City on the southern edges of Brisbane, Australia. The institution is deeply rooted in Franciscan values, emphasizing simplicity and harmony in its educational approach. Before his appointment as principal, John was the head of campus for grades 7 to 12 at St. Francis College. His leadership experience also includes significant roles at Carmel College and Thornlands and St. Mary's College in Ipswich. John holds a Master of Educational Leadership from the Australian Catholic University, a Bachelor's of Business Accountancy from the Queensland University of Technology, and a Diploma of Teaching from Mount Gravatt College of Advanced Education, now part of Griffith University. Outside of his professional life, he enjoys crosswords, Sudoku, camping, and spending time with his wife and 3 adult children. John Marinucci, welcome to Principal Matters Podcast. Why don't you fill in the gaps on that intro and tell listeners something else they may be surprised to know about you?
Well, one surprising fact about me is that although I was born in Australia, when I started school, I only had a vocab of about 6 English words: please, thank you, hello, goodbye, and toilet. And I attribute this to my grandparents as they came to Australia when I was born, and they happened to live with my family. As they were almost 60, that learning a new language was going to be difficult, and they did the best that they can. So at home, we spoke Italian with both my parents and grandparents. And for me, they were great days growing up with my grandparents, recounting stories of depression, war, growing up and living off the land in Italy. And some people know that, and as you've mentioned in the intro, that I love caravanning and winter camping in particular. And I love exploring the outdoors and seeing the beauty in nature and creation. And for me, caravanning is a form of relaxation and inspiration as well. And at the end of the day, nothing beats looking into a campfire and pondering about life with a glass of red in hand.
Oh my gosh. You just painted a picture for me, John, that I want to be in. So let's just go ahead and set the aspirations that someday you and I will sit by a fire and sip a glass of red and enjoy that moment of beauty and simplicity and harmony. I chose that title because the school that you lead is deeply rooted in Franciscan values. And you know, because you listen to my podcast, that Principal Matters listeners span the horizon for public schools, private schools, Catholic schools, Christian schools, charter schools. So before we dive into some of the questions I want to ask you about leadership, first of all, I just want to say thank you. You reached out to me as a listener, a longtime listener of the show, and are doing me the honor of jumping in on an early morning for you in Australia and a late afternoon for me here in the US. What inspired you to do the work that you're doing? Let's start there. And then let's talk about some of the outcomes that you're most proud of in the school where you're serving.
Well, I guess the inspiration really comes from a desire to make a meaningful impact in education. and particularly for our young people. I mean, as a kid growing up, I was fascinated by learning. And that curiosity led me to explore the field of education. I've actually taught, left the world of teaching, and then came back. And it was really about those relationships with young people. Now, I've been working in Catholic education on and off for 35 years. And I guess what has got me to the point I'm at is I actually started as a teacher of maths and social science. And you've already outlined some of the parts, but having that curriculum and pastoral element, I can see the intricate linkages between these. And at the school I'm at, that's very much the case, because we serve probably 5 of the poorest 8 communities in southeast Queensland, the region where we work. And we say to the students that your postcode doesn't limit you. And for a number of our students, they have intergenerational poverty and all of this. And so what we want to do is make that transformation for our kids to be the first to change that for them. So whether it's seeing a project or seeing months of hard work and seeing that personal growth in students, or even our school leaders, that's what really inspires me to come to work every day. And that's a testament to the power and dedication of the people that we have on our leadership team as well.
I love that. Thank you for that, John. Now let's talk about the uniqueness of what you do in the school that you're serving now, because for some leaders they may not be familiar with the work of a Franciscan school. So talk about how the values, and these are the words you use that I put in today's title, simplicity and harmony, have become a part of the educational approach that's so important to the work that you guys do. And what does that look like in the practices happening in your community?
Well, we're a diverse multicultural community. We've got about 50 different cultures, and we form part of Brisbane Catholic education. So in essence, Catholic, and St. Francis of Assisi, being Catholic, is the school that we're sort of named after as our patron saint. However, having those many different cultures, we have about 20 different faith traditions. So we try and be very welcoming. And we know what happens worldwide when we have a number of different cultures and different faith traditions, the potential melting pot for quite a bit of disruption. And so for us here at the school, it's very important for our kids to live those words of St. Francis in simplicity and harmony. So it's not only about what St. Francis did many years ago, but it's actually putting it into practice today. So the different cultures, and I know that in certain parts of Australia or the world where you've got all these cultures coming together with various hotheads, that it's a problem. And so for us here at the school, I didn't go into education to be a circus ringmaster or, a firefighter with a hose. So we trained them very early that we've got to get on. And that's our way of doing business, about simplicity and harmony. And simplicity is a good way to live life. I mean, we have so many things that we try and materialize with and clutter our lives, but pruning back and decluttering it all. And what is the essence of simplicity? And for me, that works quite well, because that's why I do love going caravanning, because it's about that simplicity. It's in harmony with nature. And part of what St. Francis was on about was, well, he is the patron saint of animals and ecology and the environment. So works perfectly.
So I want to sit here for just a minute longer, because Principal Matters listeners know that sometimes I like to get philosophical. So at the risk of diving into something that may be too rich theologically or philosophically, I want to stay really practical here for a moment, John, because simplicity is something that keeps coming up in my conversations with leaders. And here's how it comes up. So often when we're looking at how to manage, for instance, campus-wide school learning, Or perhaps we're having conversations about how to build cultures where people trust each other and want to work together. Or maybe we're trying to build systems that we can rely on that will make school a place where students and teachers can anticipate in advance what's going to happen without chaos. So those are the scenarios in which you step into every single day. And I've I've come to this place in my conversations with leaders where and if I'm repeating myself, listeners, forgive me, but I just want to sit here with you, John, where I'm often hearing myself saying, if you're searching for a solution that's going to make things easier, you're probably going to be disappointed. But if you're searching for a solution that's going to make things simpler, then I think that's a better possibility. And so I want to sit there with you for just a moment because I think sometimes we confuse easy and simple. I'm curious, what thoughts would you add to that?
Well, I guess even the reverse is quite true. The whole complex issue, things can be complex, but they don't need to be complicated. And so the whole idea of keeping it simple and easy is so important. At times we overcomplicate solutions to things, and I guess when I'm looking at things here at the school, at the local level, we go, well, we've got an issue around this. What can we do? But in doing that, I try and put 2 or 3 things as the solution for that. So we go with one idea, we're tackling a number of different things rather than having one focus, one solution, one focus, one solution. You've got one solution that attacks a number of different foci.
I would love to hear an example of that because if I'm hearing you correctly, even when you are trying to approach finding solutions, you're trying to avoid the complicated. You're not afraid of the complexity. But if I heard you correctly, are you saying that you're trying to also avoid just looking for one answer, that you're trying to avoid the binary, that you're looking for something that may be more nuanced?
Well, that's probably quite true. Say, for example, one of the things that we often have here is that when we call parents, we find that the number that we have on our data system isn't correct. And even though we ask parents to update that, then, it doesn't happen. Or they see the school number come up on their mobile phone. They go, oh, no, we're not answering that call. So one of the things that we try to also do is to improve, I guess, part of that parent relationship, trying to get those phone numbers correct, at the same time recognizing students who are doing good things. So we introduced this little certificate where we called it the Great Griffin. And so we would have teachers nominate students, and then I would get them into my office. We would call home, and as a parent, who doesn't love to hear that their kids are receiving some certificate, I guess, or recognition, rather than doing the reverse, where we would say, oh, we're calling home because little Johnny was misbehaving, etc. So we're calling home with some good news. And then we find, oh, sorry, parent didn't take the call, and then I would leave. So I would normally start off and then hand over to the student. And so for some of those parents, we go, oh, I'm sorry, we missed you at this point in time. We did, if the number's not right, please let us know because we would love you, to hear all of these things. So we're tackling student recognition, trying to update parent data around their phone numbers, and also giving that immediate feedback to parents about the good things their kids are doing. So that's just one example where I do one thing.
Yeah, what a brilliant example, John, of being able to approach several different solutions from more than one angle. So I want to recognize good student behavior, not just correct poor behavior. I want to make sure we increase parent participation and contact, not just when things are going badly, but also when things are happening. Let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, and then we'll be right back. Principals know a strong school starts with a strong team, making sure teachers feel heard, supported, and valued. But in a busy school year, it's easy to miss how your staff is really doing. That's why I'm excited about Alpaca, a new way for school leaders to listen to their teachers and support them well. It all starts with one simple question: how are you doing? And how easy is that? Alpaca's quick pulse surveys give teachers a way to share honest feedback, no long forms or 1 to 5 scales, just meaningful insights that help you know where to celebrate and where to focus. And celebration, Alpaca makes it easy. Each month, Alpaca delivers a teacher celebration kit with care packages, recognition ideas, and fun activities. It's effortless for principals and ensures teachers feel heard and celebrated. With Alpaca, your teachers will feel heard and you will feel like a stronger leader. Make a real difference in your school's culture at alpacapacks.com/Principal Matters and get 15% off just for Principal Matters listeners. That's alpacapacks.com/Principal Matters. Why is IXL used in 95 of the top 100 U.S. school districts? Because it works. Research across 45 states showed that IXL schools outperform other schools on state tests. With IXL, you get a personalized online learning and teaching solution that helps you improve achievement, empower teachers, track progress, and more. This one platform for K-12 helps teachers accomplish what normally would require dozens of other tools. For example, as students practice skills, IXL automatically adapts to ensure each learner is always supported and challenged at the right level. IXL also provides every student with a personalized learning plan to help them close knowledge gaps effectively. One of my favorite things about IXL is their personalized test prep tool. For exams like the SAT and ACT, IXL will analyze a student's most recent score and generate a custom list of skills to help them boost their scores. If you want to take the load off of your teachers so they can do their best work, IXL can help. Learn more at IXL.com/PM today. So let me follow that up with another question, John, which is, because what a great example of just one place within your school where you can look at those complexities and try to create more simplicity. This is probably unfair, but it's a question I hear a lot from leaders, which is, how do I manage my own time in a way where I don't feel so overwhelmed? And I know that none of us ever perfect that, but I'm just curious, as a veteran leader, what are some things that you've learned to do that help you anticipate some of that craziness in advance while still realizing that no one ever perfects it?
Yeah, well, I'm probably not a great example. I guess a lot of leaders just overcommit. And I guess by our very nature in teaching, we're obviously very kind, generous sort of people and wanting to do the best for the kids in our care. And when you become a leader, then that's also extended to the wider classroom of staff and your leaders. So I do get to work quite early and try to leave at pretty much the same time. People go, I come to work at stupid o'clock and leave at pretty much the same time. However, it's those two ends of the day where I can get to do some work. So whether it's operational work, strategic work, I carve out that time, and I know I could do it at home, but it's much easier to do it at work. I'm in my work mode, my work clothes, and then during the day, focus on staff or students as best I can.
No, that's a great answer. And I just have to admit that, even now, John, that it's been several years since I've been in the school, I get teased all the time that I still live by a school schedule. So I still get up at 5. I still get my early morning workout. I still try to get a chunk in of, doing things that I know I can do before interruptions begin. And so, for listeners, that's going to look different for every person. But I do know, but I do know that
I was going to say one
yeah.
thing, certainly in Australia, there's been a lot of talk around work intensification and work-life balance. And to me, there is never such a thing as work-life balance. It's never going to be 50-50. And I've toyed with the terminology for a long time, things that I feel comfortable with. And to me, it's probably more around work-life satisfaction. It's like, am I satisfied with what I'm putting into work and what I'm putting in at home? Because I've played with other terms, but I think for me, that is the essence. And, when I'm at work, I try and give my 110%. And then when I'm at home, try and do the same. And so it's never about balance. And as one of the best ways. You talk about how do I structure my day. I like to get up of a morning and go for a walk. That just puts me in a great way. Many years ago, when I was much fitter, I'd go running. Unfortunately, old age has hit, and now it's just walking my dog, and it's great. Early morning, whether it's sunrise or it's still dark, it's a routine. I listen to podcasts. It gives me time to meditate, just being with myself, plan my day. So very important. And the days I don't do that in the morning, I struggle. And I know hearing you talk about that as well, doing it at night. Sometimes my wife says, can't you just go at night and we'll go together? And I go, happy to go at night, but the routine is different. It doesn't do the same for me. But yeah, obviously in terms of marriage harmony and things like that, I do mix it up.
Well, we're kindred spirits. I'm going to be sharing a post probably before this conversation is listened to, John, where I'm thinking through the difference between comfort and peace. And I love it that you've made that distinction between satisfaction and balance. And because sometimes I think that I don't know, I think sometimes we aim for the wrong things. And when I say for me, the wrestling match between comfort and peace is, I think a lot of times we try to construct work, life, etc., to avoid conflict or to try to minimize those things. But that's impossible. There's no way we're going to avoid those things. That's life.
Yep.
The question is, what kind of mindset do we want to have stepping into that kind of inevitable conflict? And I would much rather pursue peace of mind than I would trying to capture comfort. And comfort's a beautiful thing. If I can manufacture it and step into it and experience it, then I'm going to enjoy that. But comfort doesn't always equal peace. And so I know that you and I did not plan to have all of these topics in conversation, but you're just making me walk down this path with you. Anything you want to add to that before I jump into my next question?
No, that's fine, Will. Certainly, living a comfortable life is different to being in comfort. And sometimes we forego certain things so that we can be, perhaps use the word comfortable in not a materialistic way, but just be at peace and at ease with how we do things.
Now, this is where I want to go next in this conversation, John. You are a veteran leader and also a student of your own work. You listen to podcasts. We talked before the show that you listen to not just my podcast, but you listen to a lot of the same people that I listen to in education podcasting, Danny Bauer and Jethro Jones and others. But I'm just curious if you were able to share with listeners some of those takeaways in your leadership experience that have been helpful for you. I like to call this you're sharing with another leader, and you have an opportunity to give them some ideas of things that they could take with them to apply to their own leadership. What are some of those things you've held on to as you've learned over the years? The things that have worked for John in applying ideas to leadership that turn into better service for students and communities?
Well, I don't think that I hold any monopoly on these sorts of things. These are, I guess, over the many years, you perhaps experiment or try some, and you know that these work for you. As a classroom teacher, you may team teach, etc. And you go, oh, that's a good idea, or I'll take that and perhaps adapt it, because you can never just replicate it because people are different. So I guess one of the things is always treating people with dignity and respect. That to me is a key. And along with that, I guess the importance of empathy, genuinely caring about people. And that's what brought me to teaching. That's what brought me back to teaching. And that's what got me into leadership, really. And to care about people, you're fostering that culture of trust and respect. And for me, working in the school I'm at, we have a whole lot of respect underlies things because of the different cultures that we have. So we've got our African communities. they work around respect. We've got our Pacifica communities. Once again, that's respect. So respect underlies a lot of different communities. And by doing that, that builds a bit of cohesion around the school as well. I guess as we've moved on, certainly around COVID times, etc., being adaptable, and that is so crucial, especially in the landscape that we're currently in. We've got to embrace change and see that as an opportunity for growth rather than something that's there to hinder or block us. And like over the years, we've had a couple of things that have happened at the school, and one of the hard lessons for me is that always keep people informed of what's going on, both with the good news and the bad. You know, that can never be underestimated, because if you don't communicate the bad, then what actually happens is people make up their own story and fill that void. And you'd rather be putting that communication out rather than leaving it in the hands of people. I work with a team of 7 other leaders here in the school. And one of the things that often comes up with our middle leaders and our senior leaders is, how can I get better at having those hard conversations? And to me, I don't particularly like the word hard conversations. I probably prefer things around crucial or courageous conversations. And I guess we all potentially started that way, but as we go on, the way you get better at those is that you have them more often, or as they pop up, so that they don't become the crucial conversations and they become less difficult, and you're getting that practice. And that's an issue not only for new leaders, but also very experienced leaders. Don't shy away and keep things under the carpet. Will, you mentioned that I listen to podcasts. You know, I love being a learner. You know, it's all about that improvement. But it's no point reading, listening to podcasts if we don't enact those things. So it's important to listen to those things that are happening worldwide or even locally, but to implement. So it's never enough to just go, oh yeah, I've listened to that. And for our, I guess, less experienced leaders, try and find a mentor, someone who could guide you along the way. So they're some of the principles that have guided me throughout my career. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one on those ones, Will.
Oh my goodness, John, that was so rich. And I'm hoping as you step into whatever the next season is, that you write those down and then go ahead and publish the book by John Marinucci, because every one of those is a chapter. Treat everyone with dignity and respect, create empathy and foster trust, be adaptable, keep people informed of what's going on so they don't create their own narratives that can often be negative, while working with others. Learn how to have crucial conversations by practicing them and act on what you learn, implement, and invite
Thank
others
you,
in
Will.
to that mentoring too. Thank you for that. Let's
My
pretend for a
pleasure.
moment. Let's pretend for a moment that you're addressing a newer leader who's anticipating some major change, because you've been involved in enough transitions that you know how scary it can be, or sometimes concerning it can be when you're stepping in, sometimes thrilling to step into something that's new, where you're wanting to a new season, a new role, a new responsibility, and you've had those changes too. What are some things you would say to that leader who's thinking about change as part of the reality that they're facing?
About someone who's going to end up in leadership, you mean, Will?
Let's speak to that person.
Yeah. Um, for me, you've got to have a vision or create a vision that inspires and rallies people around you. And it's got to be compelling so that people have a direction and a purpose. And in doing that, trying to get that collective investment from people. And, you know, I mentioned before communication. Well, communication is vital with your staff team as well. So for any of these people intending to do that's important. Have those conversations in that strategic space where you can analyze problems. The world of education today is I guess, very different to when I stepped into the early 80s. Back then, it was just basically you taught, and there was a lot of scope and leeway for a number of different things to investigate. Whereas now, the world of education has become almost business-like. So having an understanding of business and ethical and legal skills for people, like understanding financials or applying relevant policies around HR or laws, so familiarize yourself with those sorts of things. That will also hold you well for leadership journey. We talk about communication, and communication is not one way. So it's not me communicating with staff. So it's not a dialogue, it's more a monologue. And so effective leadership is very much rooted in that whole interpersonal connection, and invest time in getting to know your staff. When I first started here, one of the things I did was I talked to all the staff members, and some of the people in my team said, well, John, don't you know that's going to take you a lot of time? I go, yeah, I do. We're happy to help you. I go, thank you. And next year you can talk to them. But I want a real sense of people, getting them to find out about, the school, what's their desires, etc. So invest time into that. And people may see that as, those days are long, and they're wasting time. It's never wasting time finding out about people, their family, what are their burning issues for the school. And in all of that, you get to know people, you get to know the school, and you get to know a direction that a number of key stakeholders would like to go. And don't be frightened from failures. Part of being a leader is you've got to have that protective bat wings. You cannot harm me. Building that resilience and staying positive, because people are constantly looking at you as the leader. And if you're demoralized, and they go, well, what hope is there for us? So you've got to give that strong front that we go, yep, this didn't perhaps go as well as we thought. However, these are the key takeaways that went well, and how we'll move forward in that space.
Wow. All right, John. If Principal Matters listeners, if you would like to rewind that 5 minutes and just listen back to all of those the feedbacks that John just gave, you're going to walk away richer because of the conversation. John, as we wrap up, I want to speak also, and I know everything you said right then just also applies to every leader, but I want to speak directly to the veteran leader before we wrap up today too. That person who's been doing this work a while, that person who may be looking at the end of their career in school, and let's bring it full circle. What are some things you would have them keep in mind if they want to continue to lead in a way that both embraces harmony and simplicity, while at the same time holding on to the values that you think are really important for veteran leaders to keep in mind too? What thoughts would you add? And then I'd like you to let listeners know how they can connect with you, because I know there's someone listening right now that's like, I want to be friends with John, and they're going to want to know how to find you and how to connect with you.
Sure. Well, I guess you must know me quite well, because I'm in that twilight zone at the moment. But I've had one of the leaders here at the school doing an acting position, and she said, oh, are you here next year? And I said, why is that? And she said, because if you're not here, I won't be here. And I don't say that for any other reason, but you go, those sorts of things are good to know, because you know that you're making a difference. And as a veteran leader, that's one of the keys. I don't know if I've got any wild strategies or anything, but basically for us in Australia, we've got about 2-3 weeks left in our school year. And during the holiday break, I constantly revisit and realign my core values and mission. And I reflect on why I chose this path and what leads and motivates me at the very basic level. And that sort of reignites the passion for the new year. And reminds me of the larger impact that we can make at the school. So constantly setting new challenges and goals, because stagnation leads to demotivation. And regardless of how many years I may have left, I don't think I'm in that I'm just seeing it out. So it's essential to keep pushing those boundaries and seeking those opportunities within the school to grow. And part of that is because I am a lifelong learner. And so that helps you sort of do that. As a veteran, you're always probably seeking more a support network, not so much to support you, but also just to voice and share some of the things and engaging in those meaningful conversations and collaborations, I guess, because that also broadens your perspectives. Having a real passion for the work, because this isn't a job. Whether we're talking teaching or leading a school, it's a calling, it's a vocation. And people who are in it for the long term have that as the basic elements. Every day is different. Every day is a new challenge. So those sorts of things are important. And the longer you're in the game, probably the more you need a sense of humor, because that will get you through many a situation, whether it's a tough day or just going, I can't believe that, you said earlier about writing a book. That's never in my game plan. And but I often hear, teachers could write a book about all the situations that happen in a school. So to me, whether you're a veteran or a new teacher or a new leader, a lot of the things sort of overlap, but I guess it's just amplified a little further. To stay connected with me, I guess probably the best port of call is LinkedIn, where I regularly share insights on leadership, behavior management, pedagogical strategies, and that's where I engage with my community. So feel free to reach out via email or through LinkedIn, and certainly happy to look at interacting and inquiries from your listeners.
Well, that's where you and I began our correspondence before we were emailing and jumping on this call together.
Absolutely.
John Marinucci, thank you so much for your leadership in your school community, but also just for the incredible lessons that you shared with leaders today. I just want to say on behalf of your students and your community, especially when you have someone coming up to you and saying, let me know when you're leaving, because that's going to be when I set my date too. You're right. That's a vote of confidence that they're in a place where they feel they can trust and follow the leadership that's there. And that's because you have a heart of service. So Principal Matters listeners, as we wrap up, I just want to encourage you to think about what's one thing from our conversation with John today that you can apply to your work. Maybe that's setting a new challenge. Maybe that's finding a support network of others who can encourage you in that work that you're doing. Maybe that is maintaining a sense of humor and getting out of your office today and just looking for the crazy, funny things that kids do and giving yourself permission to just laugh and be a part of that. But John Marinucci, thank you so much for this conversation, for all the great work you're doing. Principal Matters listeners, thank you for learning together today. And until next time, thanks for doing what matters. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Principal Matters, the School Leaders Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, would you take a moment and like, share, subscribe, or leave us a review? In fact, if you share it out with a friend, even more people can become a part of these conversations. Sign up for our newsletter at williamdparker.com for even more free resources. And don't forget to check out our website to learn more about our books, professional development offerings, Grow Academies, masterminds, executive coaching, and keynote presentations. Wow, let's keep learning together. And thank you for doing what matters.
Principal Matters.